high. This is another short video summarizing some of the key concepts and themes in the child development course. This video covers the 3 chapters on the middle childhood years, more or less the elementary school years, chapters 10, 11, and 12. Chapter 10 covers the physical development of children during middle childhood. They experience proportional changes in their physical growth, most pronounced during this time. They're the fastest proportionally of any age period during their childhood. The head grows, the waist circumference grows, leg length decreases in relation to body height, so it all becomes more proportional. They begin to look at least proportionally like they will when they're adults. Very important point in the growth of the brain is increased myelinization. That is the fatty covering over the brain connections, which allows them to think faster and more effectively process information. They're able to move around more smoothly. They have better coordination, and their motor skills, both gross motor skills and fine motor skills, increase dramatically. Check out the chart that is on slide 5 in the slide deck for a more detailed discussion of the improvements in their motor skills. Their nutritional needs change and grow. Growing children simply need more calories, and this underscores the importance of developing early habits of eating and exercise. There are several slides and video that discuss the challenges for overweight children, so I urge you to take a close look at that. Some other issues regarding children's health discussed in the chapter. 4 childhood diseases that are especially harmful to children's development are cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and asthma. The last 3 in particular are known to occur more often in children from disadvantaged economic circumstances. The challenge of children's mental health is discussed. It's been given more attention in recent years. Phobias, anxiety, post-traumatic syndrome are all mental illnesses we think of more in terms of adults that children experience in growing rates, particularly those who have been exposed to traumatic situations, violence in the home, difficulties in school, being bullied, and other examples that you'll read about in the chapter and in the lecture notes. Children during the middle childhood years are at risk at various times of accidents and injuries from motor vehicles and sports activities. We're learning a lot about the potential danger, long-term danger from activities, from sports activities such as football and soccer, where the head is often impacted just by the playing of the sport. And disabilities, autism, learning disabilities such as dyslexia, attention deficit disorder, ADHD, or sensory disorders, all require intensive interventions, and those are discussed. And the chapter concludes with a discussion of education for children with disabilities. And there's a video embedded in the last slide, which depicts what goes on in a special education program, special education classroom, excuse me. So that concludes chapter 10. Chapter 11 is the chapter on the cognitive development of children during the middle childhood years. Again, we begin the discussion with an overview of the work of the Swiss psychologist Piaget. During this stage, he identifies concrete operational activities from approximately 7 to 11 years of age. Thinking in this stage is characterized by logical operations such as conservation, reversibility, or classification, which allows for logical reasoning, all of which are considered beyond the capabilities of younger children. Some terms that you'll be introduced to in this chapter: seriation, the ability to order stimuli along a quantitative dimension. An example of that is lining up straws in order of their length. Harder for younger children to do that. The concept of transitivity, the ability to logically combine relations to understand certain conclusions. An example of that is how 3 straws have different lengths, understanding how one is longer than the other. In middle and late childhood, most children dramatically improve their ability to sustain and control attention. They're able to pay more attention to task-relevant stimuli. They have an increased capacity and performance involving their memory, their thinking abilities, and metacognition, which is their ability to think about thinking, to have an understanding and grasp for what it means to learn and become more intelligent. There's a specific discussion about how to improve children's memory, critical thinking, and understanding of the learning process, or the importance of knowing about knowing, especially the importance of learning. Pay close attention to the work of Dr. Sternberg and his triarchic theory of intelligence, which states that intelligence comes in three forms: analytic intelligence, creative intelligence, practical intelligence. Be sure to review the slides, the video, and the sections of the chapter that discuss his work. It's very important. Debate continues over the influence of genetics, or nature, in the environment, or nurture, in that great debate that we return to on a regular basis when we're thinking about the lives of children. Certainly both play a role. There is discussion in the chapter about the influences of culture as well, and about intellectual disabilities and giftedness, or a discussion of children who have high, well above average intelligence. One of the key indicators in children's ability to advance their intelligence is their ability to read. And there's a discussion of the approaches that the education system takes to encourage children to enhance their ability to read. You'll read about the whole language approach, which is reading instruction based on the idea that instruction should parallel the children's natural language learning. Reading materials should be whole and meaningful. And that contrasts with the phonics approach, which is reading instruction should teach basic rules for translating written symbols into sounds. Most elementary school programs use a combination of both of those approaches to enhance children's reading ability. And the chapter concludes with discussions about different approaches to assisting children in the learning process. And chapter 12 discusses the socio-emotional development of children during the middle childhood years. In middle and late childhood, children increasingly describe themselves in terms of psychological characteristics and traits. They think of themselves as popular, or nice, or I'm a helpful kid, mean, smart, dumb. Those are all characteristics that they assign both to themselves and to their peers. They begin to develop, hopefully, a sense of self-esteem, their perspective in relation to others, and the ability to self-regulate, to self-control their emotions. During this stage of childhood, they experience, according to Erik Erikson, in his framework for developmental psychology, industry versus inferiority. The encouragement increases the child's sense of industry, how things are made, how they work. When they're able to accomplish things, they feel better about themselves. When they are frustrated and unable to accomplish various tasks or activities, they become more frustrated and perhaps more discouraged about themselves. There's a discussion regarding the emotional development of children, how they cope with stress. And there's a video about that discusses those issues. You'll be introduced to Kohlberg's theory of moral development that builds off Piaget's constructs. And there's a good chart describing Kohlberg's framework for moral development on slide 12 in the slide deck for this chapter. You also read about criticisms of his approach, which are discussed and lead into a more general discussion of how to promote positive social behaviors for children. Then there's a lengthy discussion of gender and gender differences and how they affect certain behaviors, such as talking, level of aggression, and others. Parents' role in raising their children, nurturing their children, includes providing opportunities, monitoring their behavior, and acting as social initiator and arrangers. They can play, we know this, we remember this from our childhood. Our parents play a very important role in structuring the lives of children during the middle childhood years, and have a great influence in their emotional state, their moral development, and the other issues we're talking about in this chapter. There's additional discussion in the chapter about the impact of divorce and step families on children. And those can either be a positive or a negative influence, and often both occur over the course of a period in children's lives when that is happening to their family. Time spent in social interaction with peers increases during the middle childhood years, considerably between the elementary school years and middle and late childhood. You'll read about how developmentalists, have distinguished 5 different peer statuses. And you may be familiar with these terms. Popular children, who are frequently nominated as one's best friend. Average children have an average number of both positive and negative identification from their peers. And neglected children, who are infrequently identified as someone's best friend. Rejected children, even more so, are infrequently nominated. And the 5th status, controversial children, frequently nominated as both a best friend and being disliked. There's a video that gives better examples, good examples of those categories and how children identify themselves in relation to their peers. Additional discussion about bullying. There's a video about that, and developing friendships are all discussed. And then the chapter concludes with a discussion of how the education system can contribute to the positive social development of children in this age group. And there's a video featuring the work of Dr. James Comer, which is very thoughtful in addressing that aspect of the lives of children during the middle school childhood years. So that concludes some of the key concepts that you'll be learning about in the discussion of the middle childhood years. This video is not meant to be a substitute for going through the lecture notes, watching the videos and reading the 3 chapters in the text, but I hope it's helpful and identify what some of the important things are. Thanks very much.